The Workplace Relations Minister was at the speech and he joins us now. Bill Shorten, welcome.
Good evening, Chris.
Is it the government's intention to return the budget to surplus in May next year, no matter what the circumstances of the world economy?
We are determined to, yes.
And so that means if Greece defaults and we enter another financial crisis, you'll do the exact opposite this time to what you were doing last time and withdraw money from the economy rather than pumping money into it.
Chris, whilst you're putting up scenarios which haven't yet transpired, there's a couple of points, though, which should give comfort to people. First of all, we've got 425 basis points of economic sea room. That is the current cash rate. It's 4.25%. If all the bad scenarios take place, what we're able to do, or through the Independent Reserve Bank, is they're able to decrease the cost of money, the cash rate.
And the banks will pass it on?
Well, first things first, we are different to the Eurozone in that we do have a fair bit of monetary policy to contract, and that is something which a lot of other countries just don't have. In addition, well, we're just saying, is it realistic? I think we've got a good base of monetary policy. Well,
comparing this time to last time, 4.25 percentage points is what you're talking about, was what they reduced last time over the course of 7 months during a financial crisis. And on the fiscal policy side, the government put $52 billion worth of money into the system. There won't be anything like that this time.
Well, let's compare this time to last time. Since the global financial crisis 3 years ago, the Australian economy's grown 7%. There are European and North American nations who give their eye teeth to have had that growth. In the time that the industrialised or the advanced parts of the world have shed 30 million jobs, we've created 750,000. I think it's important that we don't lose confidence. No one is saying, and the Prime Minister spent much more time than Tony Abbott did yesterday, talking about Europe setting out some of the environment which we're operating in. It is very clear to me that we're focused on what happens in Europe, but we've got monetary policy, and we are doing better than a lot of the rest of the world, and we need to be talking positively about the future, not killing confidence. Go to a high street retailer, go to a manufacturer, go to a real estate agent. If we keep talking this country down, then we will fulfil our predictions of doom.
But this is a $1.5 billion surplus, not this May. In fact, what you'll deliver this May is a $37 billion deficit. It's by September next year we'll know whether or not you actually managed to hit this target.
That's true, but what we should also remember is that our Commonwealth net debt is so much lower than most other Western nations, it's not funny. Our interest payments are lower. We are in a relatively better position, but we've got to be working out what we do post the resources boom, post the immediate turmoil of Europe. That's why the Prime Minister gave a future-focused speech. She's interested in keeping jobs. That's why we're doing what we are to support the automotive industry, unlike our political opponents. But she also recognises the key to job security in the future for a young person is to have skills so that you can move as new jobs are created.
And on the automotive industry, how much more money are you going to be pumping into that?
Well, we've committed to what we've already said. That's the $500 million in the transformation scheme. There's 46,000 jobs at stake in the automotive industry, and the Prime Minister made the very clear point today in her speech. One of the things which distinguishes the automotive industry is it has a big multiplier effect into small business through the Tier 1, Tier 2 component suppliers. It funds a lot of what is spent on research and development in Australia, and it's one of the last remaining pools of employing apprentices.
And are you giving Holden more money, and tomorrow will Holden announce more cuts to jobs and shifts?
We've got to see what our final policy is in terms of Holden, and it is inevitable that manufacturing is going to still shed some more jobs.
And is it your understanding that Holden will shed some jobs tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I will say, Chris, is in 1960, 30 in every 100 Australians was working in manufacturing. Now it's somewhere between 8 and 9 Australians in every 100 are working in manufacturing. We want to keep, the Labor government wants to keep a manufacturing sector, but as the Prime Minister said, it'll be through a highly skilled workforce, through innovation, through building cars for the future. There will still be bumps in terms of manufacturing.
But why is a job in the auto industry any more important than a job in the retail industry, and why aren't you pouring more money into subsidising that? In the end, how many jobs can you subsidise in the economy?
snap, Chris. If you want to talk about supporting the retail industry, remember the stimulus package where Australia's got $900? That is
They won't be getting that
the
again
mother
because
of all...
you're cutting budget this time around.
But when you say talking about important jobs, we've certainly done it in building construction through the new school infrastructure. We did it in retail. We've even done it in financial services by guaranteeing the 4 big banks, and we're supporting the automotive industry. We are a pro-jobs party. Why doesn't someone apply the same analysis to our opponents? The problem for our opponents is they can't be positive about the future. They can only be negative because they don't know how they're going to pay for their existing black hole and their shonky accounting.
If you're so important, the car industry is so important to you, why did you cut $230 million from the Green Car Innovation Fund?
Again,
to make your budget
we are the
surplus.
ones... We stand by the car industry. You can't attack us for supporting the car industry and then say we're not supporting the car industry. If you're going to pick a critique, let's at least... You can't jump the tram tracks and turn it into a railway line. We are supporting the car industry, but what the Prime Minister said today is the best way you want to have job security in the future. And let's face it, young Australians finishing school now will probably have 8 or 9 jobs in their life. If the best answer for job security is a highly skilled mobile workforce. Australians want to know that Australia will be secure. We've got this marvellous opportunity. Asia's going to have 3 billion members of the middle class in the next 30 years, and that's a lot of customers for us. But we've got to make sure we're able to take advantage of it, and we've got to look after our young ones and our older ones. That's why we're funding skills.
You are, but you're saying having it both ways. You talk about the changes in the economy, and the Prime Minister mentioned that today. She says every year around 1 million workers change jobs, a quarter of them changing industries too. Isn't the industry, the automotive industry, changing, and aren't you throwing good money after bad?
Well, I think I made the point earlier to you. One is the automotive industry generates apprentices. It generates research and development. If you look at companies who spend money in terms of R&D, the auto industry is amongst our biggest dollar spenders. Also, there's quite a multiplier effect, a demonstrable multiplier effect. Also, we're a first world economy. I do think we're capable of sustaining some elaborately transformed manufacturers in this country.
Bill Shorten, last night on this program, the National Secretary of the Health Services Union, Cathy Jackson, said she suspected the government was interfering in the investigation into Craig Thompson by Fair Work Australia. Are you aware of any members of the government, be they ministers or staffers, who've been in contact with Fair Work Australia?
No, I'm not. Certainly, if you look at the parliamentary Hansards throughout the last 2 years, whenever there has been any contact, it has been reported in the Parliament. Other than what's been reported in the Parliament, I'm not aware. In addition, if we want to talk about industrial relations, and whilst I understand that this issue is of some interest to people, also today, the Fair Work Australia full bench handed down a decision which is going to see 150,000 low-paid men and women, predominantly women, in the community services sector, people who work in rape crisis centres, disability areas, homelessness. They're going to get a long overdue pay rise to reverse the discrimination that's been happening to them.
Back on the Health Services Union and the Fair Work Australia, the 7 Network reported this evening about an email exchange. You mentioned that, of course, it was reported in Parliament last year, but a media advisor to Chris Evans has been in touch with Fair Work Australia, and he finished his statement by saying, "That's awesome, should minimise any run this particular story gets tomorrow morning." Anyone else that you're aware of that's been in touch with Fair Work Australia?
No, and I understand some of those emails were reported in an answer in Parliament on December the 9th. What the Liberal Party's doing here, as they will, is they're dressing up old news and presenting it as new news. Now, I suppose they're allowed to do it, but you know, here we have today 150,000 people in community services who are caring for people, doing a great job, who give of themselves emotionally, not just physically and intellectually. Their work has never been valued. Because of this government, tonight, some of the people watching you and me on TV in the community services sector can contemplate, especially the younger ones who are just starting off, can contemplate having a lifetime career in the caring professions because for once they'll get paid enough money.
Well, Bill Shorten, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.